the blindingly obvious, but massive week for Danny Rohl. Absolutely huge.
Yeah, it is. But it's also early days for him, isn't it? You know, if you try and think about it, what would be the likely response from the Rangers fans if he didn't get a result at Easter Road? It, I think would be pretty unanimous that he's just in the door, he's trying. At least there are signs that he wants his team to go forward rather than back the way. Um, so I think that there's a bit of scope here for tolerance where Danny Rohl's concerned. And that extends into the semi-final. Now, I would come back to that, I'll caveat that by saying, if he got a real scalping, say they lose against Hibs and then he took a scalping from Celtic, then I think that you're getting to that's as much goodwill as he's going to get at that point. But even then, I do think that he's not. It's not gone into a negative sort of situation. I think he'd just be absolute ground zero, and he'd then need to start getting results as a matter of some urgency. The kind of flip side of that is if we're seeing some of the debates and the comments about Celtic, where would a defeat at Hampden for Brendan Rodgers, where would that leave him with the Celtic support? So it could be argued there's a bit more pressure on Brendan Rodgers going into this game than is on Danny Rohl. But do you know what I feel? I feel as if we're in a really this week, this fortnight is going to be a really critical part of the whole season and the whole narrative, and who goes on from here to have what's deemed to be a successful season. I think Hearts going to St Mirren is a really difficult midweek shift.
Yeah.
On the back of that performance at the weekend, Derek McInnes, immediately after the final whistle, was on point with his message and telling the players, look, there's no point in doing this, beating Celtic in our place, and then going and dropping points away at St Mirren. I think we're going to find out a lot about Hearts this midweek because of that. How do they respond?
Sorry to jump in, Keith, but just on that, I think the thing that really doesn't help Hearts as well is that St Mirren have lost their last two. They lost at home, lost at Killie, and then lost to Dundee United at the weekend. And I think that will have Stephen Robinson really in a mood where Hearts will get nothing there on Wednesday night. I think that doesn't help Hearts.
It's a difficult place to go. It just is a difficult place to go, and that's all credit to the job that Stephen Robinson's done there. That's a really difficult venue. Now, we'll find out a lot about Hearts' character and their resilience. If they can go there, take another 3 points and get back across the M8, that tells you something. That's a message, and that'll be intriguing. Rangers going the other way, have to go through to Hibs. Can Danny Rohl build on the kind of improvements that he made, the tweaks that he's made, and the different approach that he's trying to instill with his team? Can they go to Hibs and get a result? Can they get a win? Because essentially that's what they need. Andy's talking there about Rangers might be quite pleased if they can just get in and out with a point. Well, there's no wriggle room for Rangers. So if this Danny Rohl thing is going to come good for them, you could call it a roll of the dice. He needs wins, and he needs them yesterday. So I think anything less than full points at Easter Road would put a little bit more pressure on him ahead of the game against Celtic. But as I said, he will benefit from the fact that he's not Russell Martin right now, and anybody would.
Well, in the comments, Scott agrees with you. He says, needs to be a win. A draw is no good. But Rangers is okay, makes a really good point. Says, Stewell and Stewart will get the anger if we don't have a good week. But if we can manage 2 wins, then I think Rohl's popularity will skyrocket. Noticed that yesterday there is genuine goodwill for him. I think that's a good point, Keith.
That's spot on.
It's not going to be Rohl that gets the
that's
flag.
Spot on. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, I agree with that. But I think that's why I said ground zero would be losing heavily to Celtic.
Yeah.
Because at that point, it will start to turn on Danny Rohl, and he won't get patience forever. And Thelwell and Patrick Stewart won't be the pantomime villains, to such an extent that it would take all the attention away from what Danny Rohl is or isn't doing on the pitch. So yeah, I think for now, they're the guys that are going to cop it. But depending on how these results go, then after these 2 games, then if they go badly for Danny Rohl, he's going to have to win people over really quickly. And the flip side of that is if they go well for him, if he manages to get a win at Easter Road and then knock Celtic out of the cup, Rangers Easy is absolutely spot on. They'll be absolutely eating out his hand by that point.
Yeah.
So so what I'm saying is such a significant few days for Rangers, such a significant away trip for Hearts to go to St Mirren, and then of course Celtic. Now you would look at a home game against Falkirk. That should be a banker. What does the Celtic response look like? And let's keep in mind, by the way, that Falkirk have been doing just fine
Good team.
in their first season back, and they're a good team. And when they were in the Championship, they went to Celtic Park and put on a really, really strong performance.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a bit disrespectful to say it should be a banker for Celtic, but it should.
Yeah.
And then of course Hampden and what happens there. So I just feel everybody's at a bit of a crossroads here, potentially. And what happens over the course of the next week to 10 days, I think, could have a real significant impact on what the story looks like for the rest of the campaign. I find it fascinating as well, looking at the league table down. That's Hearts, 25 points out of 27. That's an astonishing return, right? But also 22 goals. And then you're looking at Rangers sitting down in fifth just now, 11 goals scored. So Hearts have scored twice the amount of goals that Rangers have scored, and Celtic have only scored 12.
Only one more than Rangers.
Yeah. So, you've got to look for patterns emerging. And the pattern is that Hearts are winning 90-odd% of the points. They're scoring goals left, right, and centre. This doesn't feel like a freakish temporary arrangement. This feels as if Hearts are fully intending to go on from here and to build on it. And again, that's why the reaction, what we see when they go to Paisley, difficult venue as discussed, what they're going to put on there. So yeah, do you know what I mean by that? It just feels like the next few games,
I agree with you.
next few games could have a real kind of impact on the three of these clubs.